Okay, great. Let's start. Welcome to XCamp sharing session. My name is Charlie, and I'm the co-founder and the principal of XCamp. Today, I'm so glad to have Joshua here. He will be a rising senior, and he did a great research in Berkeley Lawrence National Lab. So we're glad to have here to share his experience, how he did the research, or how he also XCamp alumni too, how he learned coding and how my coding helped him. So the purpose of this session is to see his experience, might give you some insights, might help you later. If you want to do some research, or even in college, I believe like his research, especially directly related to the most advanced generative AI, can give you some hint, and you may learn more about AI too. Okay, great. Hi, welcome, Jess.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes. How about give you a little bit more about your background? So which school are you in now? What kind of your learning coding experience, and when did you join the research team as an intern?
So I come from Basis Independent Fremont. I'm a rising senior, as said before. For coding experience, most of my coding experience has come from like XCamp, although I did take like some TS classes in school. Like most of them weren't really that like high level, so I would say that. What's the third question?
So what's your coding learning experience with XCamp?
I've basically only really done the Python courses in XCamp, so I didn't really move on to the competition stage. Instead, began researching it from like 10th grade. So,
okay. So when did you start your internship?
I think I started working. Well, the actual internship didn't start until the summer of 10th grade. I started working with my mentor, probably around the beginning of 10th grade, where I started like reading through like papers on the topic of wildfires and AI to predict for prediction purposes.
Okay, great. I heard you work on a couple topics and have like 3 papers to be published, and 2 others still working on. What's about this kind of topics of this research?
For the ones that like I've been like the main contributor to, so the one I submitted recently to the NeurIPS high school track, it was about utilizing generative AI for like wildfire prediction, in terms of like how will the fire change on the next day, where it takes in like since the new ability of generative AI taking in like image data, I pass in like images of like which represent like each many different variables that impact wildfires. For example, like wind speed or like precipitation or like forecasting variables for such for like the next day. And I asked the model like how will this fire change on the next day, where like will it get smaller or will it stay a similar size, for example. And but that paper mostly focuses on like a framework where instead of just sending all this data to the model with like all this information and also asking it to produce one output, I instead like break down the problem into multiple steps where I ask either like depending on, let's say today we have no fire, so then I ask, will there be a new fire? Will there continue to be no fire? But if today does have a fire, I ask, will it become smaller, larger, similar, right? So there's slightly different questions, but more categories. But still, there's overall there will be 6 categories. May I also break down like the knowledge, like the information, right? We have a large amount of variables that impact wildfires. And like I thought like maybe taking in all these variables might confuse the model. So instead I grouped the variables together to what I thought would be the most like logical. Like for example, I put like anything related to moisture, like fuel, and like let's say precipitation, or like the drought severity index. I grouped it all into one group, and then I made 4 groups. I split all the variables into 4 groups, and I passed each group separately to the large language model to see like to get 4 results. And to get the final prediction, for that paper, I used a regular normal machine learning model to statistically predict like what answer would be the most likely from the four answers provided by the large language model.
Okay, great. I think some of you might have this kind of background. We live in California. Fire is a big issue for us. Especially, for me, I live in the woods too, so we sometimes worry about the fire. The most important thing is, if we can predict fire. Also, if there's fire, we can predict, it's getting bigger or smaller. This is very helpful. Yeah, Joshua's work is use a large language model. I think some of you know this kind of a new AI journey, and this kind of large language model is the new technology. Now they can be used to solve this kind of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So which kind of a large language model framework you are using?
So for that one, and like for most for the work that I'm also currently working on, I'm using Gemini's API system for the.
Okay. Yeah, I heard Gemini this kind of new, it's not only the kind of a language model, also like a kind of multimodal. You use image directly, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think this kind of as some of you already know, the kind of multimodal model is a kind of a new version of this large language model. Yeah, hope you guys learn this, know this. You may apply this to your some ideas. You want to try it too. Yeah, if you like later, you may talk to Joshua if you have some ideas to talk about this. Okay, great. Yeah, besides this kind of I think you talk about the first model. Also, you have like a general AI model as your second paper, right?
Yeah.
Would you talk a little bit more about the second paper?
Okay, so like for my second one that I'm the main contributor to, I'm basically expanding on that framework, right? Instead of like myself grouping it, I wonder like how would it perform if like a large language model grouped it, for example. And like instead of using a regular machine learning model, which has the problem where like it just produces a number, right? Because it uses statistics and weights to produce an output from an input. What if I use a generative AI model to produce an output? Because then you can get an explanation for like why you chose this specific category, which is like a large problem with like regular machine learning models, because it's hard to apply a model where if you don't know where it got the answer from. So yeah.
Okay, great. Also, I heard you're working on like the third paper. What's the idea on that?
Well, that one is mostly like work from like the internship, like where like I'm trying to where that one is just a regular machine learning model, and I'm trying to predict like wildfire emissions from like possible future fires,
Yeah.
and also like visualize it with like a map and a website.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Also, the flood environment, this kind of a wild fire emission is kind of big concerns to for us too, especially for the global warming. If you can have accurate model to predict that, right?
Yeah, and also will like be helpful for like human health like regulation, because like the wildfire smoke is harmful to human health.
Okay. Okay, great. What's the other two topics you are working on as a kind of a second author?
Well, not second author, but like for those, I mostly like helped with like more menial tasks. Like for one of them, I again used generative AI, except like using ChatGPT this time, and like tested like how good it was at identifying different species of animals, or like or locations. So that like as another test, compared to like their models that they were training to do the same thing, but with like a regular machine learning or like other types of models. And then for the another one, which is, I mean, the paper's already been submitted, but there's still some like work on the code where I'm mostly just like refactoring their code and making sure like their pipeline I'm is like working correctly. So.
Okay, great. I think just like you spent last 2 years with the professor, right?
Yeah, for the internship.
For the internship. Okay, yeah. How kind of like your coding experience to help you on this research work?
Well, I think it's like without any coding experience, it'd be a lot harder to like properly like create like design a way to process some of these. Most of the coding like comes from the data preparation stage, where you have to write algorithms to like combine to make sure like all the data is correct. Although like a lot of it is already done with like existing Python packages, because there's still like a few steps where like sometimes it might just be easier where to process the code with like a loop, for example, or like other basic algorithms. But for the most part, the amount of code, like the amount of knowledge of extremely like more complicated algorithms is not, you don't really need to know too much about extremely complicated algorithms. You mostly need like a basic understanding of how to code and how to like solve a problem that you run into when you are like trying to finish a task.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm glad to know kind of some of your training in XCamp helped you. Also, as we know, coding is a skill. Coding language definitely is a way you learn, you can be used. Another point is kind of the problem solving skills. I think some of you already kind of see, in XCamp, we have very challenging problems to solve. To use this kind of a coding tool, but solve very challenging problems. This kind of another kind of training for you guys to find the problem, solve the problem, and efficiently. Yeah, in this, how much time, like past 2 years, you spent on the research?
Well, over the summer, I pretty much like spent as much time as I had. So pretty much like every single day, like when I had free time, I would like work on these projects. Although obviously like I had a regular sleep schedule and like still like ate. But during like the regular school year, I couldn't have spend as much time with like school. So mostly only just the weekends.
The weekends on that. Okay. Yeah, I can see, you're also doing pretty good on your schoolwork. How do you kind of balance and find the time to work on the research?
So it's like the reason why like I can able to like perform pretty well in school and also like do research at the same time is because I don't have very many extracurriculars, and instead I just make my focus on this research and like school. So instead of doing like a ton of like other outside classes, I only have these two things. So I'm able to like focus on these two things, and thus I won't fall behind in one.
Okay, yeah, that's a great point. From my experience, in the past 7 years, we have more than 2,000 students study with XCamp. I know hundreds of students very well. It turns out I find for those students to be focused, they focus maybe one academic, one sports, not too many. They are doing even better than others. I know one student, they have 10 activities. It's challenging. Sometimes you don't know you're good on that or not. Here, I think it's good learning for all of us. Yeah, let's be focused on the some activities we are interested in. I think that's a good point. Yeah. Thank you. About like the support, I know definitely how like the professors support you on this research. Or you have other like the PhD students who help you?
Mostly it was like my mentors doing support. Not I didn't really work with any other students during this, but I mean like he gave me tasks to do like during the internship, and and he also supplied like papers to read, like places to get like data from, but like most of like the coding work and like the finishing the task was done like by me. So, but yeah.
Okay, I see. Roughly how many papers have you been read in the past years?
Not sure.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely reading papers is necessary, right?
Yeah.
For you to publish and working on that.
Yeah, to like understand like the problem space and like what other people have done already.
Okay. Yeah, another question: how did you want to start to do research?
Well, I suppose we can start like from where I got into AI in the first place. So originally, I was really interested in like bots, right? Bots playing games like chess, Go, tic-tac-toe, whatever. Even the simplest like so, like I was surprised that like they can they destroy us really badly. The humans kind of suck in playing these games. But yeah, I was interested, like, how are these bots made? Like, how do people make bots that can beat themselves? So then that led, so first, like, I decided to go something simple, tic-tac-toe, right? Tic-tac-toe, you know, like the Google tic-tac-toe, like there's the one bot that just never loses, it always ties or you lose. I was interested in like how that would work. So I dig deeper and I found like an algorithm that did it, which was Minimax, and I implemented it and I also made it like an app, which and that led me to like wonder like how would it work for more complex games, right? Because how Minimax works is you check every single path, every single possible move, and every single game state, and you find the most optimal move, the one that will always lead you to the highest victory using like a reward function. But for some games, for example, like chess, like there's so many possible moves that it's physically impossible to calculate every single possible move and find the most optimal one. So I decided to move on to Ultimate Tic-Tac-Toe, which is just a more complicated version of Tic-Tac-Toe. The rules are a bit complicated, but and that game has a high enough complexity such that a regular algorithm is incapable of solving it. So that's where I got into AI, or machine learning technically, but also kind of AI. Where you use a neural network to like so the algorithm I try, or not algorithm, the model I tried to implement was a neural network guided Monte Carlo tree search, which is it's a similar to it chooses as like normally Monte Carlo tree search is an algorithm where you choose you go down different branches of steps and you see if like you win or you lose from this position. And then you can back propagate the answer, so you can see like this move will likely lead me to lose or win, but you can't check every single possible branch, but you just check as many as you can. Usually with neural network guided Monte Carlo research, instead of checking as many as you can just randomly, you would use a neural network to guess like which branch would likely lead to the best possible option before going down the branch, which makes the model better. So that at that time, like it was basically state of the art, like using like AlphaGo for like playing games. And yeah, so basically that's how I got into AI in the first place. And then following that, the next summer, I was like, how would like AI be applicable to like other problems instead of like just playing games? Like, can it be used in like other aspects? So that's how I got into. I was interested in like how it would apply to like, for example, the environment, which is how I got into like wildfire, and that's how I got interested and how I got started working for it.
Okay, great. I think we can see before this research, he already did some work like play games. I know his work at that time too. That's pretty amazing. Also, he mentioned he used kind of the algorithm of AlphaGo. That's pretty now we can see complicated algorithm. But now also here we shows like you guys can try and do it too. Some code like open source. It's pretty fun. It's just kind of you'll determine, if you want to do it, if you try interested to it, you can do it. It seems like the current AI technology is pretty fancy, pretty advanced, but now we are at this stage. You guys can learn even as adults, as college, as PhD students, even as professors. Joshua already showed us. I want to have this kind of encouragement to have a try. This is one example. Because we have all these resources, it's different stage now. I like say you guys can learn things, just from website, from open source, from YouTube. At my age, I have nothing. I don't have books to learn from. Please cherish this kind of opportunities. Okay, great, Joshua. Definitely another thing you may think about how you guys, if you have some idea, can find this kind of research opportunities. Yeah, Joshua, how did you find this professor to work with?
So I was basically I just like looked through some like algorithms for like different like not algorithms like that, programs, programs from like different places, and like I reached out and eventually I got contacted.
Okay, yes. Maybe some of you know, but maybe not. A lot of these colleges, universities, they provide this kind of summer internship program. I know as far as now, I have a list of 40 of them. Every year you can apply, like Cosmo is one of them. This kind of Berkeley lab, they have this kind of program too. Also, I mentioned my friend, he's in Georgia Tech. Sometimes she takes some interns too. Also, some of like your parents may have friends to know these kind of professors. This is very important. Information give you more choices. Also, connections you're here to build connections too, right? You may make friends. Also, parents, we are here. We need to make connections too, right? If you know more parents, they have more resources, you can provide to your child. That's also another kind of a goal me, Yuan, we want to reach for XCamp. We want to build a platform to aggregate all these resources, then for you guys to have more opportunities to pursue your dream. Okay, great. Yeah, I think you're lucky to find a professor to follow with him. How your parents support you and help you?
So they've helped me a lot through like my journey, but the two main things I want to emphasize are like moral support and like acting like as a sounding board for ideas. Like first, like for example, like if I'm like ever frustrated that I am stuck in this problem, like if I just talk to them, they're supportive, like I can like get over that and like continue my work and think more clearly. And like second, like whenever I'm like stuck in some places, sometimes I like come up with some ideas and I talk to them, like eventually like they can give some ideas back to me, but also like sometimes it just helps me think through like my ideas and like find out like what's wrong with my code. Like for example, when working with like the large language model, for some reason like it was giving answers that it shouldn't be giving, like that shouldn't be possible. For example, like since like the way my algorithm works is it takes like a branch, right? Let's say, so if there's currently no active fires, then it only asks whether there will be continue to have no active fires, or if it'll like have a new active fire, right? But for some reason, like it was some of the four combinations, let's say, because I have four groups, like I get four results back. Sometimes it would give me like larger and then three no active fires, which shouldn't be possible because larger is not one of the options, right? So then like I was talking to my dad, and like after I like told him about the problem, I slowly realized like, wait, there's a problem with like the way I'm prompting the model. I'm giving shots which have an answer that doesn't fit into the question at all, which is probably what is tricking the model into predicting answering an answer that doesn't make sense. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's very glad to know. Definitely parents is our great support. Also, I want to say some parents, they might be busy, might not have a lot of time to help our kids, but I like to see the efficient time is very important. If you just have 1 hour a week, just use this time efficiently and connect with your kids, support as much as possible, or make more connections and to reach more resources. Yeah, I know his parents pretty well. They are very, very supportive. Also, another point I want to say, when we support our kids, it's kind of we are not design the direction for them. We are not put our kind of goal on their journey. I think this is very important to, as a parent, we need to respect our kids, respect their selections, respect their interests, respect their choice. So, but we're there to support them. So this is very important. I know some parents, they want to be a AI engineer, they want to be a kind of professor. They put this onto their kids. This is not feasible. Okay, we need to support our kids' interest. Okay, great. Yeah, Joshua, I think you did a good achievement on the research. So what's next? What's your future plan and kind of interest to pursue?
For the future, I suppose I'm obviously going to college, and like to go from the college, I'm hoping to like dive deeper into some like topics related to science, and hope to like so that I can research more with AI and usage in these fields. Because currently like my knowledge is limited, but like from college, hopefully my knowledge about these fields will expand so I can research.
Okay, great. Yeah, I can see you have the desire and the curiosity to learn more and work more on the AI. Yeah, for me, I got my PhD from UCLA on AI like 20 years ago. Also, I spent my 10 years in Google on mostly AI projects. Personally, I believe this is the AI era. AI will change our life. Maybe in just 30 years, no one will coding, right? But still, I encourage you guys to learn coding. The reason, we believe in the next, say, 10, 15 years in this country, when you pursue your career, your early career, during this period, we will use AI to do more work on coding to replace some kind of maybe like say kind of low level or simple a kind of coding work. But still for the high level, how to build a product, right? How to solve the problem, how to place this kind of software engineers. Still need someone to do work on that. I hope some of you will, be interested and work on that. That's cause the reason, I like continue teaching coding. Also, we have our AI class too. So we want to help you guys if you're interested to learn more about the AI. Okay, great. I think we have a great sharing with us. Personally, I learn more from you too. I can see as a high school student how much you can do with the support, with your kind of your own interest and curiosity to pursue this direction. Now we are opening for questions. Okay, go ahead.
How do you collect data for your AI?
You can look for like online data sets. Like usually there's like, for example, like, you just search for like data sets online. I think that's the best way. For like whatever problem you want to solve or deal with.
Yes, the question was how did you collect data? Yes, I can for the Joshua because definitely is some data, especially this public data is available. I mean, another part is for some companies they have own their private data. That's kind of big value in this area. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, let me repeat the question because some people on the Zoom, so they can answer. His question is about how many lines code did you wrote? Yeah.
It's a good question, but I don't actually know. I don't really keep count, but like, I don't know, probably at least a few hundred, but like probably maybe like 1K at most. I don't know.
Yeah. Currently, let me explain the kind of basic idea here. Live code is important, but not that determine about how much work you did. Mostly you need to design the system, right? What can be your input, output, your data, and the model you to use. And I think for him, you like do the prompt, right? The kind of prompt design is more important concept to implement. When you implement, if you have very good coding skills, that's kind of not that a long time to implement, right? Also, the code lines might not be that a good measurement effort too. Okay.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of there's a lot of packages which already solve a lot of like basic necessities, like NumPy, for example. Like there's a lot of functions that just remove a lot of lines of code that you would usually, if you wanted to code like the actual function, it would take a lot more lines of code. So lines of code doesn't really matter as much when doing this work. Right?
Okay, great. In quick summary, I think thousands of lines of code is good enough now to solve a big project. Yeah. Let me take one live question. Also, we have 3 on the online question. Okay.
So, what is generally your method to determining the date and location of where a wildfire will occur, and how do you make sure that it is precise and accurate?
Are you referring to like the generative AI paper, or
how do you use AI to accurately predict the date and the location of wildfire?
Well, okay, so for that paper, I already used a pre-made data set, so I didn't really have to deal with that process. But I think there are data sets which do like identify locations of fires, but that is but yeah. So I didn't really have to like deal with that problem, but that is a good point.
In the data set, for some data set, they already provide, okay, where is the fire? The next you need to predict if it's getting larger or smaller.
Yeah, which was like, yeah, that was basically the project for.
How would you predict this path for fires?
Yeah, basically what's kind of behind the scene, the concept you use AI to predict this kind of path.
For that one, I didn't really like do specific like fire spread pathways. It's more like just generally, will it be larger or not? Because otherwise, I would have to get the AI to generate like an image back, which is well, it is possible. I don't know if it would be like generate like a good enough image for comparison, but
Okay, that's good. Yes, here I think there's still some details you can continue to explore. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
But I think that, like the most important part about that project is more so the explanation and less so like the final like answer, because like just the ability to explain how you got to an answer is very difficult for like for any prediction involving a machine. So
Okay, good. Maybe you first and the okay.
What did you learn about the concepts of AI? Like, how did you research it?
honestly, most of it was just like from like online, like there's a lot of documentation online, like there's a lot of like there's a few guides for like general information, but also like you can look in if you want to look about like specific models, then I guess papers would be the best way.
Yes, please.
You mentioned that you have like a website for like your wildfire protection project. So where can we find that?
That one is still work in progress. Yeah.
Is there any other way we can like see your work?
Well, I have the Ultimate Tic-Tac-Toe as a website, but I mean, unless you, but I don't currently, I don't know if most of like the work has been like just, it's not like published yet, but it's like submitted, so I don't know if there's a good way.
Okay, please go ahead.
How do you keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, it's I'd say like I work every like single day, but like I don't work the entire day. There's still that'd be physically impossible and also mentally draining. So yeah, I mean, I take some breaks to like relax, so for a bit, but like yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's still a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
So like basically you eat, sleep, like work. So like, how do you do that?
Hmm.
I think you have like a fundamental basic desire to solve this problem, right?
I guess like
Um,
that's part of it for sure, but like I mean I don't only do those things, of course. It's just like, you know, yeah, I mean I do take like decently long, like I also sleep like a good chunk of the day too, so like it's not as long as it sounds. Sometimes the time just flies, so yeah.
Okay, good.
What kinds of things have you done in terms of competitions like AMC or USACO?
I haven't actually like done that many competitions. Like I haven't actually like I mean I tried Usico a couple times, but it didn't really work out, which is like another reason like why I went down this route. But like you don't for research, you don't really need to have super high level competition coding skills. Like the problem solving skill is very helpful, but like the way you code things is not entirely the same. You don't need to code the algorithm from scratch anymore. There's a lot of already pre-made packages uh which like which have a lot of the resources that you need, and you just need to be able to solve the problem and then like put all these function calls together into a way that gives the output you would want.
Yes, please.
Python. Yeah, Python. A lot, but I guess NumPy is probably the biggest one, like matplotlib as well for a lot for results. But I think NumPy is probably the most useful one. It has so many like general functions for dealing with numbers and multi-dimensional arrays. So yeah, there's a lot of them like TensorFlow, Scikit, whatever.
Yeah, I feel this kind of definitely language is one, also libraries is more important too. So you guys here kind of learn this kind of skills, capabilities, to explore by yourself, to read the library tutorials. You can work on that. Yeah, that's great to know. Yeah.
We do chat questions.
Yes, there are several chat questions. There's one question, maybe that's the bottom here. Maybe I'll answer from bottom to top. For the year 7 students.
That's not a question.
Yeah, that's not your question. Maybe I can answer this question. For the year 7 students, should start from Python or C++? Yeah, definitely. First, C Python still I think it's easy for you guys to learn, right? It's more close to our natural language. But some places, yeah, C++ is another good tool, especially for the not application, but the performance related. Now it's like embedded systems. C is a good language to work with. Another question on the chat is, did you work remotely for the Berkeley National Lab, or did you work on site?
Yes, I worked remotely because there was not really a purpose for me to be on site if I'm like coding for the entire time. So, and since the commute is like an hour, I don't think it was worth it. So I just worked at home.
You work at home, okay. But you have like a Zoom meetings with your professor,
Correct.
with your mentor.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, and also my computer at like home was powerful enough to run everything. So there was no need.
Okay, yeah, I think that now it's good opportunity, also for me, like my students, they work with like a Rice, Georgia Tech student, I mean, professor, they just work remotely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Another question is, yeah, how did you find these intern opportunities? Do you have like a fixed program for high school students?
Yeah, there was yeah, the lab does have like a fixed have like inter programs for high school students. But also like sometimes there are just like some specific professors looking for high schoolers, but those are more rare. Because most of them are looking for like PhD students, of course. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think sometimes, this kind of information bias, if you know this information, you know this opportunity. If you don't, you just don't know. That's a lot. I personally know like 40 colleges, they have this, then even there might be more of that. Yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's all questions on the chat too. Okay, great. So, oh yes, okay, yeah. Yeah, it's asked how could you please describe the publication process? How, yeah, you have idea, you do the work. How did you publish the paper?
Well, okay, I didn't publish it. I submitted the paper, but
yes.
I mean, I found Neurops had like this year, I believe it's in they opened a new track for high school projects specifically. So like I found their track and like I like they have like requirements and a file where for formatting purposes. So I mean, most of it was just like I just like submitted to that track. I wrote like a paper in LaTeX, but like it's not very complicated. It's just like submitting the paper, writing some information like it's like submitting the paper, like making sure your paper fits the requirements, and then like writing some whatever information they need. There's not really a complicated publication process if you're submitting to like a conference, because they have like the process already done, or like the guideline process already there. So.
Yeah, also I'm glad you guys to know, there's some paper conference or even journal, for high school students to publish, right?
Yeah.
That's a good place for you guys. How about let's ask this student question first, then the parent. Okay, please go ahead. Yes.
How do you think you got the internship? What was the most significant part?
Yeah, how did you get it? What's the factor to get it?
I'm not really sure actually. I don't know if I can answer that question.
Yeah, sometimes first you need to know this opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Then I think your coding experience. Also, I think your experience on the like the game, right? Like an AI game, already did the AI game, several AI games, right?
A couple, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of them. That helps. Yeah.
For the Berkeley program, how many high schoolers are there for your year, and what are the majors they support?
The question was, for this Berkeley National Lab, how many high school students in that program? What kind of support they provide?
But usually like when dealing with like the Berkeley Lab program, you do like E&R, which has like a lot of like different majors, and also like there's a lot of high schoolers. But for me, it was a bit of a weird situation because I found like a specific like mentor looking for a high schooler student on like a different website, which was where like most of the mentors are looking for like PhD students. So it was So I don't actually know how many there were for that, how many applied for that one. Because I mostly like just to work with the mentor directly. I didn't really work with anyone else.
Yeah, I know for some cases, the professor might, okay, I need a student. Even for them, they don't have a good channel to reach students, right? If we have this channel, I think definitely we have the opportunities. Yeah, at XCamp now, we also try to find more opportunities for our students too.
Okay, so how long did you work in the national lab, summer only or all the year round? How was the interview process for the national lab?
Yeah, I think the question is about his work. We kind of already answered that. Yeah, Joshua spent the kind of a whole summer working on
okay,
this.
yeah, but the actual internship technically only lasted during the summer. I just worked with the mentor. I just continued to work with the mentor after it.
Yeah.
So technically, I was only affiliated with the lab directly during the summer. But
Amy asked, are you paid for the internship?
yeah, I guess, but
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Okay, you have another question.
What's the difference that you would say between like working with a professor on research or working like a tech company on a product?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, the question was, what's the difference, work with a professor and work with like an industry? Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I think like when working on I don't really have much experience working on like an actual product, but like I feel like what you would need to like do would be very different. Like for research, there's a lot more like trial and error. There's a lot more like the result is pretty unknown. Like you don't really know what results you're going to get. But for like working for a product, I think generally like they know what they're looking for. You just have to like create the product that they're looking for. But since I don't have too much experience, I don't know like my answer is that accurate, but it's my understanding.
Yeah, it's very accurate. I had interns when I was in Google for this kind of interns, 10-week or 12-week. Usually we predefine every week what you are working on. It is a well-defined project most of the time. So this can ensure the delivery. It's not kind of open-mind, open-end problem for like interns in industry because we want some deliveries. Okay, great. Any other questions? No? Alvin, do you have anything you want to add?
I think be able to code is very welcome inside the research domain. All the students there, they have very limited coding skills. Even like Joshua, right, he learned something from XCamp. It's more than sufficient to help the researchers do their work already. So I kind of encourage you guys to make sure you have a solid coding skills, and then do a little bit more than like learning from XCamp. Do your personal project to demonstrate that capability you mastered already. So one of the friends was asking, what's the secret? Why we got selected to be internship there is your capability to demo. Like the game computer they put there is pretty sophisticated. It's like AlphaGo type things. So the researchers or the leads will so people can do this, probably be able to help them solve the problem. So have a demonstration of your capabilities also important. So again, coding is still super welcome inside the research domain.
Okay, great. Thank you, Finn. Yeah, Joshua, anything else? Final advices to the group here?
Well, I mean, yeah, my dad already said coding is very important. But also like research takes time, right? So even if like you don't really get results really quick, like it's normal. It takes time. There's a lot of trial and error involved. And also like to be honest with like your results, like even if the results aren't like as high as you expected, if there is still merit to them, it's still like good. And also like the learning process is like the most important part in my opinion. Like the papers are like a byproduct, I would say. Like they're a byproduct of what you've learned from this research. The actual learning from the research is the most important in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. The learning experience is great. Again, we can improve. Yeah, after you reach some level, you can publish some paper. Okay, great. Yeah, let's thank Joshua again for great sharing. Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi.